Welcome back. Really glad you're here. We are live in our New York studio, and we've had Phillip Stutts on often over the years. The media consultant takes a pretty good view of everything in the world. And Phillip, we've been talking off and on about this case, and it's not only in California anymore. And about a week or two ago, you knew you were going to come up, so. You dove pretty deep into the California situation, and I frankly don't know very much about it, and I know the audience has limited understanding of it, so we thought we'd get you up here tonight and give us, first of all, a primer on what is happening, what could be happening, and ultimately what it's going to mean.
Yeah, it's intercollegiate athletics is about to drastically change, and the first domino is falling right now in California. And what happened was there was a legislator named Nancy Skinner, and she is from Berkeley, California. I'm sure the SEC fans would love that. But
they just beat Ole Miss.
Yeah, good point. So what happened was she introduced a bill that basically would pay college athletes based on their likeness, their image, and their name. They can do endorsement deals. They can do autograph deals. It would give college athletes in the state of California, nowhere else, the ability to make money on their likeness, their image, and their name. And why this is important is that Mark Emmert from the NCAA has pushed back very hard. And I talked to sources inside the California State Capitol today, and they said that the bill is already passed. It's unanimous. Everybody voted for it in the legislature. It's sitting on the governor's desk, and the governor can either sign it and it will go into law, not sign it, and it will go into law, or he can veto it. And I'm being told that he will either not sign it or sign it, which means it would go into law. And why this is important is the NCAA is...
Why wouldn't he sign it?
Well, my sources are telling me that the University of California's regents and the California State University regents are pushing back incredibly hard along with the NCAA. They are contending that this is an unconstitutional bill and will be challenged in court. And it's unconstitutional because interstate commerce governs on a national scale intercollegiate athletics. And they say it would give the state of California an unfair trade advantage. Right. Because these athletes, people can recruit the athletes to these schools in California and say, you get paid to come to school here, whereas schools in the Southeast or anywhere else can't offer that, and that's an unfair advantage. The NCAA it's a winning argument, but the fact is the bill says even if it goes into law, it won't go into effect until 2023, and they have a provision in the law that says if the NCAA changes their rules, then this law will go away. So, and the reason this is important is because it's also happening in New York. South Carolina is considering it. There's a congressman in North Carolina right now, a congressman that wants to bring this on a congressional level. And in New York, it's not about making money on your likeness. What they're doing in New York is even crazier. They are saying the bill that they're going to put forth, and again, people in the state capitol have told me that the Governor Cuomo is very interested in seeing a bill like this passed. They want to take 15% of all revenues that come from collegiate sports and distribute them evenly to all college athletes in the state of New York. Now, you can understand when I say the domino, how important this is, because if you've got one state with one set of rules, another state with another set of rules, then every other state's going to create their own rules. This is complete chaos, and the only way it can be resolved is for the NCAA to come up with one plan to pay college athletes.
And obviously Mark Emmert, the president, has said that will happen over his dead body, but that was a long time ago. He said that. So let's follow this across the country. And I want to make one other clarification before we get too deep into this. The California law is a likeness situation.
Yes.
New York law is completely different.
It's an atomic bomb.
What if they both pass?
Sure.
I mean, again, you deal in Washington all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm struggling to even ask you the correct question.
Stay with me. I'll give you
jurisdictional issues all over the place.
I'll give you a metaphor real quick. And it is that I believe disruption is happening all over the world. One of the examples I talk about a lot when I speak to business groups is autonomous cars. We know autonomous cars are coming. I always say my 6-year-old daughter will never drive a car, right? It's not that autonomous cars are coming. It is the second and third order disruptions behind and consequences behind that. Let's say, for instance, speeding and parking tickets, when autonomous cars will park themselves and there'll be no more fines. How do state governments collect money? What happens to insurance companies when there's 99% safer cars in the road in 10 years than there are now? They go out of business. The craziest one is what happens to people on organ donor lists when there are 35,000 less deaths by car per year. Do they just die? I don't know. But what I'm saying is these are all the second and third order consequences of this one disruption. This California bill is the same thing. Your question, to go back to your question, there are going to be lawsuits in every state now. You've talking. What happens if a booster says, "Oh, I can pay an athlete based on their likeness"? Well, hey, Tua Tagovailoa, come on over to Alabama, and I'll pay you $1 million for your autograph. There are so many second, third order consequences, and the NCAA is right. There are a lot of problems with this, and they need to get a hold of it and put one standard in place before everything blows up. Now, here's another consequence. If it's name and likeness, Paul, what happens to random sports within college athletic programs that don't have the kind of effect and can't make money? What happens to women's sports teams when they say, well, what about our fair share? And then they're going to sue. And we've already seen this when Title IX came about. So these are all the things that are going to come down the pike if all these states jump in the game and create new rules.
So it's 2019. This goes into effect in 23. Doesn't sound like a long time. It sounds like a long time, but it really isn't. So what do you believe will happen if this happens, and then New York happens? What's going to happen everywhere else?
There are going to be bills popping up in every state legislature. The Congress will come in and try to have their own bill that covers everything around the country. The way I liken this is, I went to Alabama, so I'll use that as a metaphor. They have the best wide receiving core in the country. If I was to replace Jerry Jeudy and become the wide receiver at Alabama, I'm 45 years old and I'm slow. I would be a major disruptive force on that team right now, not in a good way. And that's what these legislators around the country are doing as well. They are becoming major disruptive forces, maybe not in a good way, but it's still going to affect what's going on in college athletics.
I realize Congress is a little bit busy today, but at some point, do you think that eagle-eyed congressmen and senators will look around and go, hey, this is a winning proposition, let me get involved?
They already are. It's a bipartisan issue. Again, in California, it was unanimously passed by Republicans. And this is like the one issue that can bring Republicans and Democrats together.
And what's the breakdown of the California legislature?
Oh, I don't know, but it's predominantly Democratic.
Right.
But in the Congress, there's a congressman in North Carolina who's a Republican, and he's the one that's bantying around right now whether he's going to introduce a bill.
What's the upside? So for Congress to do this, what is the end game for them?
Well, it's to put one standard in place. Okay. If the NCAA is not going to put one standard in place, then Congress can come in under the Interstate Commerce Clause and put in one standard.
So, I mean, at some point, will we have congressional hearings
this again? I cannot emphasize this enough. The California bill is the first domino, and there's a ton of chaos that is about to ensue unless either Congress or the NCAA steps in and creates one standard. Okay, so
I realize this is more academic than some of our normal everyday fare here. It was important to explain it because it is complex. I want to come back, take a break. We have a few more minutes to go. And then have you tell us what you hear, where do you think it's going, and ultimately the impact it has on what we do here every day. We'll be right back with Phillip Stutts. Welcome back. Final couple of minutes on a very important conversation. I realize we're heading toward week 5 of the college season. Some scintillating games this weekend for all of you to enjoy. But Phillip Stutts is in our studio, and we want to spend a couple more minutes because, Phillip, this is really heading down a fascinating track. So we know where it is legislatively. Assuming we start seeing all this coalescing around, whether it's California, New York, Carolina, wherever, Looking into a crystal ball in a couple of years, where does it all go?
Well, I'll even say one thing before I answer that, which is you have the two Democratic presidential candidates have weighed in on this, Pete Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders. And LeBron James has also weighed in on this, saying that we should be paying.
And Tim Tebow has weighed in too.
He has. And
Future
so you're starting to see the voices kind of rise up one way or the other. And where I see this in a couple of years is I think there's no way of getting around that college athletes will be paid in some way, some fashion. Maybe not all, maybe all, I don't know. But the way that college football players or intercollegiate athletes are structured now under the NCAA will no longer exist within the next few years. And there will be a new dynamic in the way that they are paid and the way that they compete.
We've already seen it today. This has virtually nothing to do with it, but the quarterback at Houston decided, I'm not going to play anymore.
That's right.
I don't like the team. This team, and he said again today he's going to stay there. That's a matter of opinion. But the independence and the rights of college athletes is not just slowly moving, it's barreling down the road pretty quickly.
That's right. And you even see this in the way that, like, let's say there's another example, head targeting in the last 5 years has completely and drastically changed the game. The transfer portal has completely and drastically changed the game. There were unintended consequences. There were second and third order consequences of the transfer portal. And everybody's going through this right now. Today, what happened today is exactly what I'm talking about. It is going to be on a much grander scale because you've got politicians involved now, and that can be good and also can be really bad.
So you have two presidential candidates, both considerably left-leaning. What impact will this have on the other side? You have Republicans. You have the president, who's a Republican, obviously, who's maybe preoccupied today, but he's a big sports fan.
Yep, he is. He has not weighed on this, as far as I can tell. I will tell you that there are Republicans who believe that college athletes should be paid, and there are Republicans out there that think it should stay the same as it is, as an amateur body. I tend to think that eventually everybody's going to come around, and this isn't what I want. I can see what is happening. There is a storm that has come over. This California bill has changed everything, and I don't think people realize how impactful it'll be. And we will know Friday whether the governor of California signs the bill or doesn't sign the bill or vetoes the bill. If he vetoes the bill, it punts it at least for a year.
I see. Stepping back for a second, Phillip, why the change? Why now? Why is the country shifting on this issue?
Well, everybody's talked about it for 2 years. This is how all movements, come. Where's the great quote? It's like, first it starts as a movement, then it becomes a business, then it becomes a racket. And right now it's in the movement stage. And it has been talked about. And finally, the San Francisco Chronicle recently said California decided to take the lead. And they decided to do something about it, not just talk about it anymore. And California legislators have done that, especially this Nancy Skinner in Berkeley, California.
We haven't heard a lot of coaches and administrators chime in. At some point, everyone will offer or be asked about this. Have you sensed anything from?
Well, they don't want to change.
No,
they're making all the money.
But they also have two constituencies. They have the normal ones, and they have recruits out there who are seeing all this happening around them.
And wants to be paid.
Right.
And you better believe the person that probably will be on the forefront of this is probably Nick Saban.
That's why I ask. I mean, because I can't see him missing this.
Everybody else will sit on their hands. Nick Saban will see the tea leaves and is smart enough and is innovative enough to be out there in front of it, and that may start swaying everybody else in college football.
I'm surprised. Again, we are now in season, so you're somewhat reticent of asking Nick Saban after a game about something, but I don't think he'll have to be prompted at some point, will he?
He should be asked, because I think the dynamic of this whole situation, I think another domino would fall if a major college football coach came out.
But you have someone like Saban, you have Mike Krzyzewski, and it would serve their purposes to give an answer supporting it, would it not?
Oh my God, it would be massive for them. Look, Nick Saban wants to remain relevant. He is relevant as a coach. He wants to remain relevant in the media and the forefront of where the trends are going. This is a trend that is moving in that direction. I want to be clear. I'm not advocating either way.
No,
I'm telling you it's a trend. It is not going to be stopped. It is a major wave that is coming.
Yeah, I mean, you represent a lot of clients. You're very active in Washington. In fact, we had a great time there about a year ago, seeing all the usual sights from inside the ropes.
Some of them we can't talk about.
No, we are not allowed to talk about our trip to the White House.
Or the CIA.
Or the CIA. The CIA was pretty memorable.
It was a good time.
I am not. I still don't think they've given me my cell phone back from the CIA.
Well, it doesn't work. There's a bug in it. Somebody's listening.
There really is.
Yeah.
They know exactly where I am right now. Phillip, this is a fascinating topic. It won't be the last time we talk about it. Thank you more than anything for educating us, because frankly, not a lot of information substantive on this until now. Now I feel like I could get a C in this course.
Yeah, good. Well, that's average.
Which is what I am. Good night from New York.